If "how did you hear about us" isn't your opening question with new customers, you might want to mind your own business.
Partial funding for this program was provided by
How much do you know about your target market? Can you define them? Do you know where they live and what they do, or what matters to them?
A lot of small businesses that I work with, when I ask them about their target audience and their clients, they say the typical answer is everyone is my target audience, and everyone between the ages of 18 and 65, male and female, want to buy my product, and that's not what the right answer should be. So by them actually identifying that they need to do market research, they've got half the battle done. So by doing market research, then they can start to realize who their audience really is and really start to narrow down, maybe it's women between the ages of 18 and 24, in the Eastern Ontario region. That is their market as opposed to everybody in Canada.
We worked with an entrepreneur one time who said, we said, do the research and come back next week and we'll talk more about the rest of your marketing. And he said, I called up, like you said, I called up 3 businesses and they said, can you come over? We want your service. I think it was some kind of software, some kind of accounting service that he was offering. So he came back the next week, said he felt bad because he was already moving into sales and promotion and he hadn't finished his research yet. I said, that's okay. You're heading in the right direction. Yeah. So, but if somebody says, well, no, I don't want that, but I want this, then he or she should be prepared to adjust their product offering or service offering accordingly. So that's sort of primary research. Secondary research is when you look at the stats scan or when you look at evidence that's already available. The municipality has stuff, library has stuff, Google has stuff. So there's that kind of research is sort of already available. But a lot of times small businesses, really small businesses and everything from retailers to service providers take a look at a community and they don't see what they want to offer being offered. So they say, we want to do that.
Now, primary research can be a little bit more costly than secondary research because it's you going out and creating the questionnaire, you're spending time, if you're allowing discounts or providing incentives to people who respond, it can be more costly and it does take more time out of your day. Whereas secondary research, it's all research that's already been done. So, it's basically your time, and sometimes there is a cost to, picking up a magazine or finding certain types of research. Mm-hmm. So the one downfall to primary research is the cost factor. But the one benefit is you're getting your specific research question answered.
It was a suggestion from one of our friends.
Is that right?
Yeah, he had been there, and Kirkland Lake didn't have an electronics store, and so took a drive.
That was pretty much when I'd again done a little bit of canvassing, and again I think a lot of times some of the best ideas are born out of necessity. I was virtually at a place where there was no employment. Right. So pack up your loot and move to another boot, yeah. or step up and try and make it happen. And that's when I said, okay, if I'm going to fail, I want to fail doing a business that I truly love and I'm going to enjoy and learn through the process. Yeah. And maybe I have to move on to another gig afterwards, try and start something else.
A lot of market research, it's a combination of gut response and what people are telling you. So you know your business best, you know what's best for your business and where you want to take it, but you also have to take into account what your customers want out of your business. So finding a healthy balance between the two is a good idea when you do any type of research.
You do a lot of research. Research and development. You do a lot of research. You try a lot of different things. And by the time it goes on the menu, I think we've tried it maybe 10 different times.
There's a lot, with the food business, specialty food, it's almost like fashion in a way too. That every year there's usually 1 or 2 ingredients that come to the fore that people are interested in. And over the years, like for example, at Chipotle, when that came in, maybe 8 or 9 years ago, we decide to make a chipotle mustard. Then, you know, logically it's like, what are we going to use to cut the smokiness of the chipotle? So we use fresh lime juice in that one. So, you know, it's very organic the way it comes together. Wasabi was another kind of trendy ingredient, and so on. But there's always so much to see that's out there. Research online or research at shows internationally.
There was nothing here. But this area had quite a lot of building permits. And I knew about the 416 coming down because the 416 wasn't here by then. But I knew it was coming down here because I'd heard. So there are quite a lot of things. In England, it's quite common to have a restaurant in the countryside and go for a drive into the countryside. And it was quite common. But here it wasn't. But it seems to have worked out. I'm exactly half an hour from Ottawa, West End. I'm exactly half an hour from Brockville.
Do your research. Do your research. Depending on, find out if the industry that you want to go into is regulated. And if it is regulated, in other words, are there rules put in place? Are you selling alcohol? Are you selling tobacco? I mean, any of the things that are regulated or controlled. If there are rules around it, you need to know those rules. You need to know all those rules. And you try as you might, you're going to miss something. In our particular case, we got all the way through the process. I had done a lot of research. I bought all the documentation from the government. Went through the checklist. I went all through the checklist. I went to this agency, that agency. I contacted all the agencies. I wrote all the checks, got all the approvals, and we were ready to open the doors. We'd made, everything we had, it was all set to go. And then the federal government, I called up the federal government because the provincial government says, oh, but you're missing something. I said, what am I missing? He said, you're missing this piece of information. I said, oh, where do I get that? Well, you called this government agency. I said, okay. So I called this government agency, and they said, well, yeah, you should have come to us about 8 months ago with that. I said, but it wasn't in the book. I went through the checklist. I went through all the different things. She goes, oh no, it wasn't in the book because the book that you purchased was actually printed in 2003 and we updated our regulations in 2006. I said, but this is 2011. She goes, yes, it hasn't been reprinted yet. There might have been an addendum in there. You may have gotten it, you may not have. I said, oh. She goes, well, don't worry about it, we'll fix it. And we did. Everything was fixed up. So it doesn't matter how much work you do, you're still there's still a chance that you're going to miss something. But goodness, you have to get out there. You have to ask the questions.
The greatest challenge is getting a handle on the financials. That's the experience that we have had. Marketing and financials, really. Marketing, I guess, because it's an area that's always evolving, and as people's business develop as well, their market might change or their customer need might change. So it's an evolving process. So that is an area where we get a lot of requests for information, requests for consultation, and mentoring support.
So using social media to do market research can be very powerful through your network. So on LinkedIn, you've got a network of professional individuals you can send out a survey to. Facebook is more of a friend network. Some professionals, you can work with friends and professionals on Facebook. So it's sending out online surveys that you may have developed online and sending it out and asking for feedback on whatever it is you're looking for.
You could think of it in terms of a circle, but I think that each of them happens sort of concurrently, because as you build your relationship, you'll be doing research by listening to your customers. And just when you think you've got a great relationship with clients, if you had 3 clients or 300 clients, the feedback that you're getting when you do that research, which is now we're talking step 5 and step 1 at the same time, they're going to say, if you offered me this, that would be very useful. So now you've changed step 2, which is have your story to tell. You've changed your product or service. And also, as during that relationship building, you find out that people are looking at this website or reading this magazine. So now you're going to tell your story slightly differently, telling it more often or less often, or refining it. So if you could go right to building the relationship, that'd be nirvana. It's like marketing heaven. And I think that's what social media does, you know, with Facebook and Twitter and LinkedIn. I think that's what the brands like Nike and Apple and McDonald's and IBM and all those large companies do. And, you know, by having whole departments devoted to relationship building with their customers. But small businesses can do that, not at the same scale, but they can do it face to face.
So using social media to do market research can be very powerful through your network. So on LinkedIn, you've got a network of professional individuals you can send out a survey to. Facebook is more of a friend network. Some professionals, you know, you can work with friends and professionals on Facebook. So it's sending out online surveys that you may have developed online and sending it out and asking for feedback on whatever it is you're looking for.
One of the best ways to conduct market research is to talk to existing customers. Chat them up and find out what interests them. You can even ask them why they're already buying from you.
So I was hired to do a focus group for a woman who was looking at importing shoes. And we did a focus group over 2 days with 20 different women. And all the women were really, really excited to be talking about shoes, and we had bought them lunch, and you know, they were just going to talk about shoes and see what they have to say. And we pulled out the shoes, and they were not good. And the people had nothing nice to say about what this woman had to offer. And the business owner was not in the room at the time. And so, you know, an hour goes by and there was not one good thing that these women had to say about the shoes. And it's like, okay, this business, you know, might have to take it in a different direction. But the funny thing is about it was the business owner wanted to hear what the women had to say. So I said, okay, well, at the end of the focus group, we'll bring you in. You can just introduce yourself. So once we've closed questions, then by all means, you can come in and introduce yourself. And by the time the owner came in, all the women said, oh, I love your shoes. This is going to be such a successful business. So when you're doing research, a lot of times people will have different opinions if you're in the room versus if they're talking to a third-party individual who is not involved. Right. So it's always important to remove yourself from the research, just because people are worried about hurting your feelings.
I don't want to oversimplify it. You know, it's not like go bring your cousin and your brother and the guy that lives next door, unless you haven't already done that. Mm-hmm. You know, because why not? That would be 3 more people for a start. But how can you reach 300 more people? Well, have you done the 3 people yet? No. Okay, well, it's like pebbles in a pond, you know? If you throw a pebble in, the ripples will go out. So yeah, we mentioned like the low-cost things. I still think the answer to what can I do that's low cost has to do with those ideas can come from your customer. How can I get more business? How can I get more people like you to come into my store or my business or add to my client base? And they'll tell you because it's easy for them to give feedback and input. They don't know how you run your business, but they can share their ideas because people like to share their ideas.
Right. Mm-hmm. If you're looking at growing your business, it's important to ask your existing customer base what they think of your products and services. And sending out a simple email to your existing client base, or if you're a retailer, asking them to fill out a quick survey while they're in your store, just to get an idea of how they feel about an expansion. Now, an expansion could be an expansion of a product line. You might be expanding into a second location. You might be, you know, building an addition onto your current location. Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different ways that people grow their business. So asking clients what they're looking for or products or services that you may not offer currently, and just seeing or getting their opinion on this type of growth would be a great form of research.
Well, now it's like right in the retail store, we get all kinds of, and as I was sort of growing the line, we had a group of I don't want to say guinea pigs, but a group of willing participants who were really keen, and so we would give them, you know, batch number 1, 2, 3, 4, and they would say, you know, more garlic or just without a label, and get their feedback and get their honest feedback, and we would change and develop the recipes according to, you know, a lot of these customers that we've known for a long time, that we know they have great palates and they're interested, and they're our target market basically personified. So, and they're honest with you? They're totally honest, and brutally honest, yeah. Because, you know, the great thing is, if something doesn't work, and we've had a few interesting kind of failures in the kitchen where, you know, you just move on the next day, you know.
Getting involved with market research don't feel sad and don't get upset if somebody says something negative or something that's contradictory to what you thought you wanted to do. Take that as a really good nugget of advice and think, oh wow, I never thought about it like that. So don't be offended by, you know, what the individuals are going to say about your business. Take it as a learning opportunity.
A lot of times we've asked clients, well, how do you get business? Well, we get a lot of business, repeat and referral business. We say, great. So you've had some satisfied customers coming in. What formal arrangement do you have with them to let them know that you really appreciate it when they pass your name on to a friend or someone else? Do you give them a coupon? Do you give them a referral form? Do you have a loyalty program or a frequent visitor program? So those are some things where you can constantly engage your customers to get their feedback, you refine your product, and expand your client base at the same time.
Right, and all the good information, you're very right, is through negative information. And I don't like to think of it as negative, but it's areas to improve. So it might just be weaknesses. For example, if you do a focus group and 8 of the 10 people say, I wish you were open on Sundays because that's when I have all my free time to come down to your car lot, but you guys are closed, you know, that's a good thing. Maybe you need to think about getting someone on staff who will come in on Sundays for a couple hours, and you know, that's going to certainly help your business, because otherwise those people are going to be going to another car salesman and you're going to be losing out on sales.
The more you know about your target market, the easier and cheaper it is to sell to them. If you don't know what your customers are doing or reading, how do you know where to advertise? And let's face it, advertising is an expensive proposition. You want to be able to buy in strategically.
We're constantly changing what we're doing, when we're doing what we're doing. Obviously, we're not going to put good money against bad. Time is important, so I'm not going to spend time doing something. I'm not going to spend time paying somebody to upload stuff to a website if it's not working. So we track everything we do, for sure, because you don't want to be throwing money out a window. That doesn't make sense. Yeah.
A lot of the time people think market research is going on Statistics Canada and finding, you know, relevant articles related to their industry that might be a few years old, and saying, I've done market research and, you know, this is what's out there. But market research, there's a lot more to know, and there's a lot of additional tools that people can use. So everything from magazines, journals, books, newspapers, even using tools like social media to do different types of research as well.
And I guess when we look at our elected representatives, we don't always think of them as a source of information. But the reality is they have contacts that we could never have. So it just makes sense. They become the clearinghouse for your contacts. You have a question, and if you've done your research, you know, fine, you can go directly and get that. But if you don't, it makes perfect sense for you to sit down and say, okay, you know, what do I need? What am I missing? Who do I talk to? And oftentimes they'll be able to give you those answers.
Business today is really difficult in terms of the competitiveness of whether it's locally, you know, regionally. In our cases, it's nationally. We're competing with a lot of people who do what we do, and we can't underprice everyone and be a price leader. It just can't happen. So we have to be able to sell our value in terms of what we do, not what we charge to do it. We have to be competitive, so we can't, you know, charge an exorbitant amount of money more than the competition, but we don't have to be below the competition to bring our value to the relationship. So, you know, growth, depending on what market you're in, I think will all have its challenges. But if you're selling something, whether it's a widget or whether it's a service, you better know what your costs are, because if you don't, you'll never know what to charge.
You know, the biggest thing we do is we'll go and we'll spend a week, or you know, at least a week in whatever town we're going to. Like in Kirkland Lake, we spent a week up there. And we talked to everybody we could talk to, and like the real estate agents, and we talked to people up and down the street. You know, does this place need an electronics store? Does it need a video store? And we'll do our demographics first, just to make sure there's enough people. Okay. But then we want to really go and see whether anybody wants us there.
Sometimes there is a delay in people responding to surveys and they think, I don't have time for this. So adding a little bit of an incentive would be a good thing. So using an online survey tool at the end of the survey, you could say, for those of you who fill out the survey, you get 10% off your next visit. So it's, you know, you could add a coupon to the end of a survey. Some people actually choose to give out gift cards if people, you know, complete a survey. So gift cards to their store or other retailers. That's an option as well. That definitely helps to boost response rates.
It's not a matter of build it and they will come. It's a matter of offer what your customers want and they will come. Market research can help you uncover what it is your customers are after so that you can then provide those services or products.
Make sure that every new business you get, how did you hear about us? Businesses sometimes fail to ask that question.
Or to listen.
Well, or to write it down. Oh, that's great. Anyway, how can I help you? So no, you're supposed to note that. You're supposed to write that down.
You know, in some ways yes, in some ways no. They've got a team of people from Bentonville that they've come to Kemptville and they know more about the demographics than we ever will. But as far as, you know, making a decision today on what Kemptville, you know, what people are asking for, no, we can do that right now. We can change on a dime. Mm-hmm. And that's the advantage we have, is they can't.
Yeah.
Partial funding for this series was provided by and by